farther out of my reach. I licked my lips and shifted restless from foot to foot. How you suppose he's gonna get there? Mr. Miller had never been one for conversation, and I could tell he was getting good and bored with our talking. He scowled and screwed his eyes up at me. Heck, boy, I don't know. Up and over Colockum and down through Robber's Roost, I suppose. 'Tain't no concern of mine, and it probably ain't none of yours neither. You here to buy something or just to jaw at me all morning? No, sir, I appreciate your help. I was backing toward the door when I remembered the boy outside. Who's the boy out front, sir? Mr. Miller grimaced. What, the Chinaman? He's still there? He shook his head and spit. Chinaman. I heard the word in my mind, then my mama's voice. I'd said it once, the year before, after we'd passed a group of Chinese on the road to Yakima. I don't like that word, Joseph, she'd said. It's an ugly word, and I don't want you saying it. I'd been confused. Everyone called them Chinamen. I didn't know there was another word for 'em. It ain't a curse word, Mama, I'd argued. She'd pursed her lips. Any word can be an ugly word if you say it ugly. And people say that word ugly, Joseph, nearly every time. It sounds hateful, and I don't like it. They're people just like us, at the end of the day. In the Lord's eyes, if not in his people's. Mama had always been my measure of goodness, and always would be. I hadn't said Chinaman since. That ain't no man, I answered Mr. Miller. He's just a boy. Where are his people? Under a few feet of dirt and rocks, he said matter-of-factly. Him and a couple of grown ones limped into town 3 days ago. The others were sick as dogs. Died before sunset. Not sure of what. I stared at him. So he's all by himself? He ain't got no family or nothing? Nope. Been sitting there like that ever since he showed up 3 days ago. Must be hungry as a bear. My belly dropped down to the rough board floor. You mean he ain't eaten in 3 days? You didn't give him no food? Give? I ain't in the business of giving away food, boy, especially to Orientals. Another Chinaman will happen along here any day, I suppose. They can take care of him. What if one don't, though? Mr. Miller fixed me with an out-of-all-patience stare. 'Tain't no concern of mine, he drawled slowly. Them's words you ought to start learning yourself, boy, especially if you aim to track down Ezra Bishop. You go after him looking for trouble, you'll find it for certain. Now, you buyin' or you leavin'? There was sure enough a lot swirling around in my heart and my head at that moment. I was pulled every which sort of way. There was the boy out there, alone. There was my girl Sarah getting whipped away from me. There were all my own fears and doubts and loneliness piled up inside me. And, as always, above all else, there was my mama and papa. I tried to figure best as I could what it is they would have me do. I reached into my satchel and pulled out a $10 note. I'm buying, sir. What you got in the way of ready-to-eat foods? When I stepped back outside, my satchel hung heavier on my shoulder. A tin canteen with a screw-top lid was slung over my other shoulder, full of water, seeing as I had plenty more walking ahead of me. I went over to the boy still sitting against the wall. He looked up at me, scared and breathless. I knelt down and held out a biscuit. He looked at it, then back up at me. His lips were white and cracked. I wondered if he'd had any water all the while he'd been sitting here. I was darn near certain Mr. Miller hadn't brought him any. Go on, I said. Take it. I pulled the canteen off my shoulder and shook it so he could hear the water, then unscrewed the lid and put it on the ground next to him. He gave me one more wide-eyed look, then snatched the canteen and gulped at it noisily. He stopped to take a breath and wiped his mouth with his sleeve, then timidly reached out and took the biscuit from my hand. It was gone in 3 bites and washed down with more water. He looked at me, panting. I smiled. Better? He blinked at me. Then he wiggled and pulled something out of his pants pocket and held it in his open palm. I squinted down at it. It was a small carving, like a little statue made out of some kind of shiny black rock. It was in the shape of